Civil Service Commission meeting to order. Commissioner Sharp has to leave early tonight, and after conferring with her, if she shows up, and after conferring with her and HR, we decided we did not want that to be in the middle of testing these potential 5 captains. So we want to have the same number of people scoring all of them and avoid that confusion. But it was my understanding she was going to be here because I wanted her to participate in some of the other things, but we're going to have to go ahead. Any public comments? No public to comment. Under old business, we need to approve the May 29th, 2022 minutes, and you should have a copy of that in front of you.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, they're the May 9th notes. I think you said 29th.
Oh. I'm motion carries. Acting Chief Eaton would like to discuss entry-level fire test. I have no clue what this is about.
That's all right, sir. I'll explain. Good evening, Commissioners, Madam Attorney, Madam HR. My name is Scott Eaton. I'm the interim fire chief. My address is 2000 Murphy Drive. This evening, I'm requesting that 2 applicants be removed from the entry fire list that we currently have. Taking advisement from HR, I'll be referring to both applicants by their application number so that their names aren't on public record while we talk. Applicant 3610 and applicant 7141. It's come to my attention that disqualifying applicants by the Momento Civil Service rules is not as extensive for the fire department as it is for the police department due to their added rules that Celeste gives them. Madam HR provided you a copy with the 8 reasons that are given for disqualifying applicants. They range from everything from the applicant just simply denying the offer all the way up to committing a felony. While I believe that there should be a solid list of disqualifiers, I also believe that there are times when people aren't necessarily disqualified from being a firefighter. However, they just don't meet the standard or the qualities that citizens of Maumelle have come to expect from their civil servants. In the past, I know that we've had applicants that don't meet these qualities, but we were able to choose one of the other 2 applicants that we receive, and therefore not disqualifying them, but simply just leaving them on the list until the list expires. I believe that this commission has the same, if not higher standards than the citizens have, and I also believe that you trust our judgment and will agree that leaving a name on the list that we will never hire is just simply careless. Applicant 3610. After the interview, I was contacted by 2 paramedics in my own organization. They let me know that they had separately filed informal complaints against the applicant to his current agency in which he works. He works with another agency that we have contact with on a regular basis and has regular contact with our citizens. And their complaints had to do mainly with his rapport with the citizen in which he was serving. His agency knows that we take pride in we put our citizens above most of the care received by other fire departments. We love our citizens, and we have a huge problem if anyone treats them with anything but the utmost respect. Also, the applicant's work reference, sadly, that he had provided has sadly passed away, and so I was able to contact just another supervisor within the organization. His reference that he gave me about this applicant, he stated that they have had multiple issues with the employee, and he actually knew that he was had been recently put on probation due to his actions. The other applicant I'd like to talk about is applicant 7141. In a strange turn of events, I was coming before you tonight to explain that during the interview process, this applicant was explaining that we would do background checks. And if there was anything on his background he would like to explain. He simply stated that he had stolen from Walmart and he didn't know if it would be on his background check or not. Now, by looking at the 8 criteria that you have, there is nothing in there that says that we can disqualify an applicant for simply admitting to being a thief. There is nothing in there, and if it's not on his background check, well, then we're stuck with this applicant. However, as you can imagine, if I hire this guy, it's not a disqualifying factor. However, I believe, if we receive a complaint from a citizen that some property has been misplaced, or just general trust of firefighters every day, that's negligence on my part if we hire this guy. In a strange turn of events, however, Madam HR was looking at his background, and he has extensive misdemeanors, failure to appear, and had a warrant out for his arrest. And so I believe we're kind of on the line of that probably is a disqualifying factor. However, if I'm up here asking for names to be removed, I'm just simply asking for his name to just go ahead and be removed as well, so that we don't have to go through the whole disqualifying record. So applicant 3161 and applicant 7141, I'm respectfully asking to be removed from the list, and if granted, I will get with HR and receive the next names on the list so that we can proceed with the hiring process.
Chief, as hard as you're scrounging for people right now, I know you're not doing this, excuse me, not doing this lightly at all. Is that on?
There we go.
The way you're scrounging for good candidates right now, I don't take any of what you're saying lightly. Does Article E, the applicant has been convicted of a felony or has exhibited conduct which would tend to undermine the public confidence in city government, maybe not apply in these situations?
I believe that yes, for the second one, applicant 7141, finding multiple misdemeanors and a warrant for his arrest, that's pretty clear. That's the one I say, we're pretty sure he's gonna get just disqualified. The other one, I've spoken with Madam City Attorney, and we're kind of going, she's kind of talked me through this of, does this have to do with felonies or, just, it's really hard to disqualify, quote unquote, disqualify someone just because they don't meet the Momento standard. And that's what we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into, making a judgment call just because we don't like them. I want it to be a fair and non-partial judgment that we make. And I would really like to work with the next chief to see if we can come up with some additional criteria, just like they have at Celeste, for the police officers, where we can reference things, hey, I contacted their previous job and they did not have a great reference, and that gives us reason to disqualify them. And so I want to make sure, and by civil service rules, we can't disqualify them, but I can come and request that their name be removed.
I'll need some guidance from Madam City Attorney.
I'm just going to kind of give y'all some background information. So our selection process in our rules talks about selection a little bit. Just to give you just one of the main paragraphs. When a position in any entry-level civil service rank becomes vacant, the chief of the department of police or fire will be provided the top 3 names remaining on the certified list. The chief may select for appointment one of the 3 applicants on the entrance list certified by the commission. If the list provided to the respective chief is deemed fully exhausted without an appointment being made, then prior to the transmission of a new list of the next 3 eligible applicants, the City Human Resources Director will verify to the commission that written reasons for rejection of previous applicants have been received. This procedure shall be repeated until a selected applicant accepts appointment. So that sets out, some basics of our process. Of course, our process has to align with state law. And state law 14-51-301 discusses the rejection of candidates that is to be in our rules, and that our rules must provide for the rejection of candidates as eligibles who fail to comply with reasonable requirements of the board in regard to age, sex, physical condition, or who have been guilty of a felony or of attempted fraud or deception in connection with the examination. So it doesn't set out a lot of real definite criteria. There are, of course, to become a certified law enforcement officer, there are a lot of background check requirements, but even in regard to that, there is an Attorney General opinion letter titled The Honorable Robbie Wills. It's 2007-242 that discusses disqualification by the chief of the department and basically shifts disqualification back to the Civil Service Commission. While the department chief can say, out of these 3 people, I'm not hiring those 2, I'm only taking this one, and always gets another one, really the chief doesn't have the authority to disqualify those people, the commission does. So if, you're always to have 3 that are to consider. Like, the chief should always have at least 3 choices. But that doesn't necessarily mean that those, there may be good reasons to just not hire someone. But it is the commission's responsibility to determine whether someone should be disqualified. And in that opinion letter, it's a situation where there were background checks, and it was actually a police department situation. And just a few of the things that the opinion writer said there is that the testing process culminates in the creation of an eligibles list, and the creation of the list of eligible candidates are governed by the Board of Civil Service Commissioners under rules and regulations that have the force and effect of law. Then they go on to discuss that responsibility and state, the matter of deciding whether applicants have met the minimum standards ultimately falls to the commission pursuant to that agency's power and duty to create list of eligible candidates. And it refers to 14-51-301B. And he says, in my opinion, the chief may not disqualify a candidate pursuant to section S-3. They can choose not to hire, but again, it's the commission's responsibility to decide whether to disqualify. I will note that there, and I completely understand that there are reasons why you would not want to hire someone, but I do want us to be mindful of the need for consistency. So if we're going to say anytime you get a bad reference from your supervisor or you have customer complaints, then that needs to apply to everyone for whom we have someone when they come and they have a poor reference and they've had multiple complaints. If we're going to say a misdemeanor conviction, even though the statute says felonies is going to disqualify you, then we need to say in our rules a misdemeanor conviction is going to disqualify you. And certainly I understand that I would not choose to hire a person who told me I've been dishonest, I've stolen, although I will say I do kind of admire the honesty in that situation. And I would not choose to hire somebody who had poor references and multiple complaints to people in the department. I just want to reiterate that we have to be consistent with every single person who comes on our applies and tests and comes on our eligibles list. So those are things we definitely need to consider, and the commission needs to determine whether those are things that they're going to be willing to repeat in the future and disqualify people for the same thing in the future.
Does this action require a motion?
One way or another, you would need to, if you're going to act on the request, you would need to do so by motion.
So maybe I'm hearing what I want to hear in what you're saying. Are you telling me that, number one, we're setting precedent, and I get that. We couldn't disqualify somebody for this thing and not do somebody else in the future for
Correct.
the same thing. Beyond that, I'm not as worried about that. Beyond that, do you think the commission is on safe legal ground to grant the chief his request?
I think that we probably should, if we're going to go past our current list of 8 things, or it either needs to be based on this list, or we need to formally modify this list and amend our rules.
Let me make another suggestion then, because this is tying directly into something I was gonna bring up later. Number one, you don't have to hire any of these people. I know you don't even want them on the list, but you're not required to hire them.
So, sir, the problem comes is, like she explained, we get 3 names. Well, right now, there's 2. So now I'm gonna get just 1 name every time. Well, if the next one is not to standard, well, now I'm stuck.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm hiring the lesser of the 3 evils.
Right, you're stuck.
So my
You gotta-
question is, yes, I agree, and that's what I'm saying is, we need to work with getting better guidance, but could these 2 not fall under the undermining the public confidence in city government?
They do to me. You know, how somebody else may see that, I don't know.
Have we confirmed that applicant 7141 does have a warrant out for his arrest? Okay.
We have.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that we disqualify applicant 7141. I'll take these in parts if that's okay.
Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
Any discussion?
I think that conduct clearly falls within the purview of Section 8.
I would agree with you. I appreciate the motion. All in favor, say yes.
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 Any opposed? No. Motion carries.
I'm not as convinced on applicant 3610. Obviously, Chief has the benefit of knowing the details that we don't know, and of course, we trust your judgment, but the caution from Madam City Attorney I echo in that if the next applicant with a complaint against them we hire, because it's not as big a deal and they have a different race, age, gender, national origin, then we're in trouble. So I think it exposes the city and the departments to a little bit of liability if we're not hard line on 2 complaints from other department, which I trust, you know, because it's pretty subjective to be a jerk.
But here's 2 people who felt very, very strongly enough to come to you with it
True.
And file a complaint.
and file a
And
complaint.
file a complaint.
But nothing was ever done by the agency that he's at?
Well,
Like how recent, well, what's the timeliness of these
again,
complaints?
sir, we have a great relationship with this agency, and so if we ever have an issue with some of their employees that come to Maumelle, we make a phone call and we usually just let them handle their own business.
Yeah. Are these timely complaints?
Yes, sir.
It's just hard for me to sit here and say that it undermines the city's confidence without knowing exactly what it is. Now, I'm for amending the rules too.
Well, this ties directly into something else I was gonna bring up. Let me throw that out there, then we'll come back to this. I have sort of fought this for about the last 12 years, because I'm always reluctant to ask for more of y'all's free time, but about 12 years ago, we had a retreat, Park on the River. It was on a Saturday, which makes me hesitate more, because it takes some time to do this, but Madam City Attorney has convinced me it's time for us to sit down and line by line go through these rules and regulations again.
Sounds fun.
Well, you know, I think they appropriate us $500 a year, which we never spend, but I think we spent some of it that day on refreshments and food and that sort of thing. That's something that we can address when we redo that. That does not get us out of the situation we're in right now on one applicant.
What recourse does an applicant have who's removed from the eligible list?
I mean,
Do they have any standing to assert some type of?
yeah, I think they could at least, you know, ask for, injunctive relief that we're not, following our own rules, or at least have an argument that we're not following our own rules.
Would they be entitled to a hearing before us?
I don't believe, I think that it would be more of a lawsuit type
Okay.
situation.
Of course, we know anybody can sue anybody for anything at any time. I mean, that's nothing new there. I don't know how to handle this one. It's pretty clear to me how to handle the first one,
Yeah.
and we did it.
That one was the easy one.
Yeah, that was the easy one. Because we're not going to change these rules and regulations overnight. It's gonna take us a little time to work through it. That still leaves you on the hook right now.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know how to get you off the hook without maybe exposing us to a lawsuit.
Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate a little bit more?
I'm kind of hesitant just because I'm not sure of my legal bounds of to repeat what I can repeat and what I can't repeat. Here, I will also, I've had a conversation with HR of my frustration of this, if this gentleman did some of the things that I know he did, he steps foot in my station on day one, we have the legal right to fire him and send him with no recourse, right? He's a at-will employee at that point, but yet we're gonna hire him knowing well that his previous employer is having the same problems that we would dismiss a probationary firefighter for. Search, some of the things that were mentioned are late to work, grooming standards, and just all around work performance. And so I didn't ask about any of like the real specifics. I figured that was enough for me and didn't want this guy to put himself in any kind of, he's not HR, he was a supervisor, and, you know, I figured that was enough information for me to say, yeah, no, I can't do it. I'm not willing to take a chance on this guy.
Were the incidents involving the public in any way physical or violent?
No. I mean, not that I know of, no, sir. I would believe that if they did, he would have been fired, not put on probation.
Were these complaints against this person from the public?
No, sir, they were from two of my paramedics.
Okay. And people that work with him?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And he also got the bad reference?
Yes, sir, that's who, so the complaints are from two of my paramedics that work in the Momento Fire Department. We actually work with this agency. And so when we work together, they get to see how he treated our public.
Got it.
And so I was just calling work references and noticed his work reference that he had passed away. So I called another supervisor that I knew was a supervisor and asked about his work ethic and can you tell me anything about, you know, what it's like to work with him, those kind of questions, and that was his reply.
Well, Mr. Chairman, on the other side of the coin, if we did move to remove him, then we would just have to be consistent and we might miss out on a good potential hire in the future. If you just draw a hard line until we can amend the rules.
Right. And maybe we can get something in these amended rules that will better address this situation in the future.
That will hit a reset on the precedent,
Yeah,
subject to Arkansas law.
subject to Arkansas law. Any ideas, y'all?
Well, I'm comfortable with setting a precedent on this.
Yeah, I am too.
I don't think you want to invite this to your doorstep.
No.
You don't want him coming in here on his next misadventure to appeal to us for whatever else happened or whatever he's created on the job, along with the dissension and disharmony that he's going to bring. Him or her, I don't know.
I will entertain a motion.
He's on probation currently with his current employer, did you say?
Ma'am, I'm not sure the time of the probation, but it seemed like it was either current or very recent.
Sometimes you gotta step up and do the hard thing. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we reject candidate number 3610 from the list.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say yes.
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 Any opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you, sir. Just as a note, before I sit down, we did have 3 of our candidates graduate from the Arkansas Fire Academy on Friday.
Good
All
deal.
And they are going to EMT school and then they'll come back to us, so I appreciate at least getting 3 slots
Yeah.
filled. So,
Fantastic.
Great.
thank you,
Yes, sir.
Chief.
I was gonna get this, election of commission, officers out of the way early, and now we kinda got off into the rabbit hole here. I'm gonna hold off on that and go back to the idea I brought up, about whether y'all wanna do it, I'm gonna say we need to do it, I'm gonna let y'all figure out how it's the easiest for you to do. If y'all wanna take us some Saturday, and we can, this, if memory serves, last time this was a several hour process. It takes a bit. If y'all wanna look at a Saturday, I'd sure like to do it this summer before college football season starts, but, if y'all wanna look at a Saturday, or if you want what may wind up being a couple, maybe 3 special meetings on weeknights, I don't know if that's any more palatable to you. But we need to do it, and I'm not gonna ask you to vote on anything about it tonight, I just wanna throw that out there, to let you think a little bit about it, and I'll probably will, probably get back with you, because we're gonna need to do this. And Commissioner Sharp has already told me if we can plan it out and find a Saturday where not only the 5 of us, but Madam City Attorney and HR have to be there as well. You know, it's a lot of people, so give it some thought, all right? We'll come back to it. All right. Now, we'll get to the election of commission chairman, and secretary. So I will open the floor for nominations for chairman at this time.
I nominate Bill Harrington as chairman.
Do you have to second the nomination?
That's a good question. No,
If what?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Trying to remember. Okay. Are there any other nominations?
Call the question.
What'd you say?
I call the question.
The question has been called, whatever that means.
It's time to vote.
Time to vote. All in favor, say yes.
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 Any opposed? No. Motion carries. Wouldn't do me any good to vote no against myself, so. All right, I'm gonna open the floor up for, the position of secretary.
Nominate Harvey Durham.
Have a nomination for Harvey Durham.
Since Sheila's not here.
I wanted her here for this, you know? Well,
man, that is.
Oh,
That'd be
that's
cool.
tempting.
There's always next year.
Yeah.
True.
If you're not showing.
Any
up.
other nominations? I guess I'm gonna call the question then. All in favor, say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? No. Motion, or vote carries. All right, let's see. I now need, I now need a motion to move to executive session so we can conduct these captain interviews.
I move to executive session.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, or any
Yes.
discussion? All in favor, say yes.
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 Any opposed, no. We are in executive session.